STN Racing proudly presents the HIP Motorsports Summer Sim Racing Championship. We're coming to you live from Suzuka, here in Suzuka, Japan, right in time as the Tokyo Olympics going on a little further away here in Japan. We come to Japan as well as we get set to go for race number 6 on the 7-race season. And Jacob Pitts, Joey Tevin with you for the call. Zach Johnson, our producer. And Joey, first thing different right off the bat, we're doing a standing start tonight instead of a rolling one like we've done the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, it appears that this was kind of a last-minute decision, kind of a last-minute announcement. A lot of the drivers didn't really expect to be doing a standing start, but they're going to have to do it. They're going to have to figure it out either way. So I assume plenty of these drivers have done standing starts before, maybe not in this specific car, but we'll see who adapts to it well. We know Shueo Almeida's done plenty of standing starts in his life. I'm sure Gavin Sanders has too, and they're on the front row. So everybody can follow them from behind.
We'll see how well or poorly this turns out. Let's take a look at our starting grid for tonight's race. It's Gavin Sanders and Kai Dial on the front row. Luke Tucciaroni and Eric Dalla Riva in 3rd and 4th. Stephen Nagovin and Michael Puchik 5th and 6th. John Martin in 7th. Sam Heward in 8th. Austin Riley in 9th. And Thomas Lengau rounds out the top 10.
And you're right, that is not Shueo Almeida on the front row. He was so fast in practice, but he actually didn't get a lap in qualifying, which is why you see him at the bottom of your timesheets. I could have sworn he was up there, but nope, he did not get a lap in. So Jeff Kingsley will be 11th, Gary Wood will be 12th, then Val DiPietro and Timothy Salvatore make up row 7, followed by Lawrence DeFranco and Leo Mora, Keaton Pipe, Randy Zimmer, and the aforementioned Shueo Almeida, P19, and that rounds out your grid with no... Oh, and Federico Fernandez, too. Don't forget about him in 21st.
In 21st, Goggles Paisano, that's the admin in the server. So off we go. Lights are out. We are underway here at Suzuka, and this ought to be fun as these guys fan out 3 and 4 wide, heading down into turn number 1. We'll see how far they make it, but it's all Gavin Sanders as they come through turn 1. Looking back through the rest of the field, looks like everybody might be able to make it at least through the top 10.
Yeah, everybody made it off the grid pretty well. Nobody stalled. Looks like the orange car, Federico, is a little bit further behind the rest of the field. Still going through turns 1 and 2 right now, but other than that, it looks like everybody single file coming through the S as well. And Gavin Sanders off to an early lead.
Gavin Sanders doing what he's done well the last couple of weeks, which is get out in front and stay out in front as we got one sideways and into the wall right behind him. I think it was Luke Tucciaroni that got sideways back there. We got multiple cars around. That is the 74 of Luke Tucciaroni around, right in the middle of the racetrack. Another car sideways there. See if we can get a number on him. That's Lawrence DeFranco in the 22 that's around. So a couple of cars getting some contact early. They made it through turn 1, but they didn't make it a full lap.
Yeah, lots of drivers getting loose over the top of the hill. Either they clipped the grass or the car just got light and they spun it across the track, either into the inside wall or just across the track. But everybody gets it rolling up again. I think Keaton Pipe may have been involved too. Couple setbacks, but no harm, no foul. They're going to keep it rolling and got plenty of time to go.
Coming down through the last portion of the racetrack for Sanders to complete the first lap. Coming down now into the chicane.
Now Gavin, the drivers behind him, they're pretty strong, but his greatest opponent is Shueo Almeida, who's still fighting through the cars at the back of the grid at the moment, trying to work his way up to the lead, or up to the battle for the lead, rather. I'm not sure exactly where he is. We'll try and find him, locate him once we can see the graphics again. But right now, Gavin Sanders sitting pretty big lead through the S's.
And sometimes technology can make things easy. Sometimes technology can be the chagrin of some things, and that's where we stand right now, trying to get everything sorted. and get us up to full song as we continue our way now on the second lap of this one. Gavin Sanders continues to lead the way, but one thing that I think helped Sueya Almeida just a little bit is the fact that there was that crash in the middle of the field on that opening lap that allows him to jump a couple of spots. People he doesn't have to actually pass on the racetrack now. He's already in front of them, and he can focus on some of the guys close to the back of the top 10.
A little bit of a blink from Gavin Sanders, maybe getting the car in seconds, hopes up for just a moment, but...
Whoa, we got trouble!
Is that Austin Riley?
Yeah, it is. Austin Riley around into the hairpin. Doesn't get it, stuck in the kitty leader, loses a couple of spots, but he's able to keep the thing rolling. He won the Amateur B class a couple of weeks ago, and we were at Road Atlanta. And since then, he wasn't here for the last race at Bathurst. He's back now. And trying to do the best he can to try and win the Amateur B class here.
A little bit of setback. There is a... Is that Val Di Pietro in the green Ferrari off into the grass there? He recovers it after a little bit of an off-track excursion. Now these guys drive up to 130R. It's a very tough corner. You can get loose on exit. You can get loose over the curb, but not going to happen for the Mercedes or the BMW or the Lamborghini or the Ferrari or the 14 other manufacturers we've got in the field here.
I don't think there are quite that many. They're only running the GT3s for this. Now, next week when we go to Le Mans, that is going to be interesting because they will be having the GTEs and the GT3s on the racetrack at the same time from Le Mans, a little bit of a multi-class race with the pro drivers and the amateur A drivers in the GTEs, the amateur B drivers in the GT3s. Only certain manufacturers allowed between the two, but for the most part, it's all of them that they'll be able to pick and choose from. So we'll have an array of manufacturers out on the racetrack.
It's a battle of the Porsches going up the most dangerous part of the track, and as I say, most dangerous part of the track. That grass is so inviting. Can he keep it out of the wall? Yes, he can. Well done.
Who is that way off course? It's in front of Di Pietro and Austin Riley. Looks like the number's covered on it, so I can't tell who that is. Somebody. Let's put it at that.
Gotta subscribe to Trading Paints Pro, people. Get that custom number on there.
Or just don't cover up the number.
But whoever the mysterious driver is, they did recover that. As we see, 37 minutes still left on the clock. And there's the running order. That's what we wanted to see. Sueya Almeida already up to 5th place from 19th on the grid. Great stuff from him. 14 spots up in the span of about 5 minutes.
So that was Heward that we saw get sideways there and able to hang on to it. Here is Almeida in the top 5. That thing is wicked quick. As you said, very fast in practice, but he kept getting off-track points, kept getting X's. That's why he did not set a lap in qualifying. He took numerous attempts, I think 4 attempts at setting a lap. Each time he went off course, and the lap didn't count.
So the order up front, Sanders, Dallariva, Dial. Dallariva is actually pretty close to Sanders. The gap is less than a second right
Almeida
now. But yeah, and there goes Almeida on Puchik up to 4th place now. Sanders has been holding off Dallariva for the first couple minutes of this race, but now he's got to start getting worried. Almeida's up to 4th. He's only got 2 more cars between him and Sanders.
But he has 6 seconds, so he does have time before we need to get into some green flag stops. Leo Mora 1 lap down, the only one who is a lap down at this point. Everybody else trying to keep the things as clean as they can as we're inside 36 minutes. The gap between 1st and 2nd, just about 2 seconds between Sanders and Dallariva, who have exchanged the lead, no doubt, in Amateur A competition the past couple of weeks, and even the win a couple of times.
Yeah, and Dallariva's come out on top a couple times because of some post-race shenanigans, some post-race penalties, and he's been the one who's kept it within the confines of the track, and he's picked up the pieces. Remember the IR1s at Road Atlanta? He won them overall, and see if he can chase down Gavin Sanders and win this one overall. But right now, he's only in 2nd place, and the gap is only expanding. Shueo Almeida now all over the back of the black Ferrari of Kai Dial. He has absolutely decimated that gap. It's practically non-existent now as we go down to 130R.
Side by side here between Almeida and Dial. Looks like Almeida's got the preferred line on the inside. He takes it away. A great job by Almeida, who goes a little wide there. Dial tries to get around the outside as they head into the chicane. Almeida's going to shut the door, and the lone pro driver in the field, Daniel Moran's not here. Almeida picking up the torch and carrying it on this week here at Suzuka, and he's climbed himself from 19th to 3rd in just a couple of laps.
Gap is now 6.3 seconds, but you can see even down the straight, he's gaining time. He got a great exit out of the Casio triangle, down the front straight through turns 1 and 2. It's decent. It's not better than Sanders that time, though. It doesn't look like. So he's definitely got work to do if he wants to bring the gap down to Dalla Riva first and back to Sanders. Quite the gap to make up. Looking at the rest of the field, Thomas Langille running second right now in the Amateur B class. We haven't talked much about him, but he's running pretty solid right now.
Running right behind Michael Puchik, of course, John Martin, he's back in 10th right now, and Austin Riley, those are the two guys that have won Amateur B the last couple of weeks. They're 8th and 10th right now, so Puchik and Langille carrying the torch in the Amateur B class.
And Austin Riley has work to do. Remember, we saw him spinning off into the gravel, but he's still 3rd in class right now as into the pits comes the Gulf-colored Porsche. Yeah, DeFranco, he ran into trouble earlier, and now he's bringing it down into the pits. Did he hit the wall again? I'm not sure.
It's possible. The way that thing was going on pit road, I know pit road isn't necessarily flat, but I don't think it's like riding through the desert where you're hitting a whole bunch of dunes and everything. That thing was definitely not flat to the racetrack, but we will await and find out. Gavin Sanders, though, has kicked the door down. It's a 3-second lead between himself and Dalla Riva. Trouble for Austin Riley. He just went off course. He got passed by John Martin. So Austin Riley now falls in behind Martin. Not sure if he went a little wide in the corner or what, but he just fell down through the leaderboard. I believe he was in front of Heward as well. He just lost that spot overall. So Austin Riley having some issues once again.
Yeah, bad news for the green Lamborghini and John Martin. I thought that was Val Di Pietro's car. That is not Val Di Pietro's car. It's John Martin's car, the Australian-born Floridian. He had a little bit of a journey through the grass as well, coming out of the exit of Spoon Curve, but he's recovered it, and now he is running in 3rd place in class at the moment. Next car for him is a different class. It's Sam Heward. Next car in class is Langille, who is a good 5.5 seconds ahead.
Almeida continues to close in the gap. The gap between himself and the leader is down under 5 seconds. It was over 6.5 seconds when Almeida got by Dial just 2 laps ago. So he's got the fishing pole out, and he is reeling in the leaders here from Suzuka.
And as he reels in the leaders, Dalla Riva loses the leader, even though he is one of the leaders. He's been absolutely plummeting back from Sanders. We saw the gap as low as like 6 or 7 tenths in the Dunder Mifflin Mercedes, and now it's 2.8, expanding to 3 seconds. And the car of Shueo Almeida is getting very, very large in his mirror. Or it's not very, very large yet, but it certainly is getting larger. It might be like 2 pixels now.
Now it'll be a lot bigger here in just a couple of laps.
And don't forget that he started 19th. He's already made quite the journey to get up to 3rd, but he's got more work to do, and he wants to make up for that bad qualifying session. He screwed himself over by getting 1X's on each one of the laps, and now he's got to do all the work in the race, but the gap comes down to Dalla Riva, under braking into the Casio triangle. We know Almeida's got quite a bit more race pace at the moment, and the gap is below a second.
Just over 30 minutes left here from Suzuka, and Gavin Sanders has led every lap thus far, but Shueo Almeida is closing in the gap on 2nd place, and he could be the lone man that can challenge Gavin Sanders for the potential win. We'll just have to wait and see. Again, we've got 30 minutes left But Eric Dallariva trying to do everything he can to keep not Gavin Sanders in his mirror, Sueyo Almeida in his mirror. At this point, it's down under a second between these two.
Almeida's really good through the S's. You see him carrying a ton more speed than Dallariva's able to. Maybe his line's a little bit better. Maybe the Porsche's a little bit more nimble than the BMW up ahead, or the Mercedes up ahead, rather, but I don't know. Through the first Degner, Almeida maybe a little bit slower than Dallariva through that corner specifically. And then through the second Degner, got to be careful not to go too wide on the exit there, because you can get a 1x penalty for that. And then heavy braking into the hairpin. Look at how close Almeida gets. Fantastic braking from the number 4 car. I think that might be where he makes the pass on Dallariva in elapsed time.
He certainly got very close there in that hairpin. Thought he might put the bumper to the back of him when we were calling the Fart League last week here at this racetrack. That's what we saw happen for the race lead with 30 minutes left. Contact between the top two, get into the hairpin. Somebody just drove it in way too deep and caused that contact. But it looks like Almeida may have something to say here before they even get to the chicane. Here they come down the long straightaway. Almeida peeks to the inside. Dallariva gives him the room.
I thought he was going to have to wait a whole lap to do this, but nope. Dallariva pretty much just lets him by, and he goes squeaking by. Is that Leo Mora?
I think that's DeFranco again.
Oh, DeFranco running into more trouble. Bad news for him. It's a bad day for him. Goes from bad to worse. He's probably going to finish in 19th where he's been for most of this race. But Sueyo Almeida is not still 19th. He's second, and now he's got 3.5 seconds to make up to Gavin Sanders. And remember, that was like 6 seconds a couple laps ago, and he's had to pass cars while bringing that down by about half.
We'll have to see what Sueyo Almeida can do. In the meantime, Gavin Sanders leads. 28 minutes left here from Suzuka. We'll step aside, and we'll be back right after this from Suzuka. STN's coverage of the HIP Motorsports Summer Sim Racing Championship is brought to you by Drive Festival, September 10th through the 12th at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. By Gary Wood's Fat Ass Road Racing Team. By Neo Motorsports, brake and suspension systems for your upgraded street ride or race car. By Ontario Time Attack, affordable motorsports at Ontario's finest racetracks. By FAF Automotive Partners, the Moradness lifestyle brand, motivated by motorsport. And by Racing with Autism. Learn more at racingwithautism.com. We welcome you back here to Suzuka as we are closing in on the end of this deal, but we're also closing in on green flag pit stops. Jacob Hitz, Joey Tevin with you for the call. Zach Johnson, our producer. There's your leader, Gavin Sanders, right now. But right now, with 21 minutes left, we're eyeballing up some green flag stops.
Yeah, I would assume that as we've crossed the halfway point, everybody's going to be thinking about coming in very soon. Gavin Sanders and then Sueyo Almeida, your two leaders. Almeida hasn't brought the gap down quite as quickly as he has been in the previous minutes. It's been a good couple minutes, and he's only brought it down about half a second. The gap 2.1 seconds as we go to 130R. He's definitely made up the gap, but he still has quite a bit of work to do, either on track or in the pits. Somebody's off into the Degner.
That's the 19.
Fernandez
Federico
in trouble.
Fernandez, he gets hit again into the wall. Who was trying to pass him there? Just hip checked him into the wall, getting up to the hairpin. Wow. It's the 20 of Leo Mora, no, the 30 of Leo Mora, who swerved into him heading into the hairpin. Wow.
Yeah, unfortunate stuff. I didn't think it was a particularly bad merge by Fernandez, but I guess Mora didn't see him. And here's De La Riva, the podium sitter at the moment, third place in the pits. He's got a couple other cars joining him. I think that's Puchik and that's Dial as well.
Yep, so third, fourth, fifth coming onto pit road right now. Have to wait and see what Almeida and Sanders do. They stay out for at least another lap. Langile stays out as well. He'll take the third spot for the time being.
Sanders and Almeida through the Degners. Take a look at the ticker on the left side of your screen. And there it is. There's the one, the critical one for Almeida. He's got it below 2 seconds, if for but a moment. But he's going to be looking at that, and he's going to know that he is still catching Sanders. And he will catch Sanders if nothing bad happens to him.
Inside 20 minutes to go. Here from Suzuka. Almeida has closed in the gap. I'm curious here, Joey, how this is going to play out with pit stops. That could really seal the deal. If Almeida pushes it in harder to get to pit road than Sanders, that could be the difference between these two and where they come out when they get off pit road.
Yeah, pit stops always critical in this series. And you got to nail your stop. You can't overcook it. You can't put too much fuel in it, because when the gaps are this skint, one mistake and that can be a position lost, or if it's Almeida making the mistake, it's just ground lost. That'll have to make up on Gavin Sanders on track again. Let's see if Gavin comes in this time. Yes, he does. Gavin's in.
And Almeida's in right behind him. It looks like Almeida did pick up a little bit of time, not a ton, as now they have to hit the pit limiter as they get down pit road, 37 miles an hour. As they crawl down the front straightaway, head toward their crew to change tires, get some fuel in it, and get back out on the racetrack. Langile is in third. He's coming up to the chicane now. Have to wait and see what he does. Tucciaroni is about 10 seconds further back. He hasn't pitted yet. De La Riva has in the fifth spot, 30 seconds behind the leaders. They're not going to get there as Langile comes in. They won't get there before Sanders and Almeida are off pit road.
We'll have to see if they can beat anybody else out. I'm looking at the gap. Sanders, Almeida, 8 tenths, 7 tenths. I believe they might be leaving the pits now.
Yep, they're off headed to turn one. Sanders on the gas hard, and he's going to pull away. So in the end result, he's going to put another second on top of the gap between himself and Almeida. It was 2 seconds when they came in. It's 3 seconds as they head back up through the S's and get up to speed.
Yeah, great pit stop from Sanders. I don't know what the difference was. Maybe Almeida took a little bit too much fuel, or maybe his crew was just a little bit slower. They're both driving the same car, though, so there's no differences there. But whatever it was, Almeida did lose a good 2.5 tenths or 2.5 seconds compared to the gap when they came into the pits.
17 minutes to go, and now all the pressure falls on Sueyo Almeida. You know, what can he do now to try and reel in the gap? That was his one insurance policy there with the pit stop, as there's a car off the pace. That was the one and only chance, really, for Almeida to close in the gap. Instead, he lost time. Do we think he's going to be able to get there just on pace alone, as that's Keaton Pipe that they passed?
Yeah, Keaton Pipe staying out of the way. He ran into a little bit of trouble on lap 1, but other than that, it's been a solid race for Keaton in the 35. Going through Spoon Curve now. You can see BMW take those corners. Doesn't look like he's pushing it too hard, but he's keeping it on the track, and that's what's important, especially with these incident point limits, and especially on that outside curb at the Spoon Curve. You can easily get a 1X there. Gavin Sanders going through 130R, another place where if you go out wide, you'll get that 1X off-track penalty, but he keeps it within the confines of the track. Almeida does as well. through the Casio triangle. We'll see if Almeida's better braking, as we've seen in the first part of this race. Oh, that was close to the grass from Sanders. That was very close. If he got a little bit wider out there, he might have spun that thing into the inside wall.
Now, we've seen it before, and we will certainly, I'm sure, see it again, where somebody wins the race, and everybody crosses the finish line, and the winner gets the win taken away and gets bumped down to third spot or something because of incident points. Remember, 12 incident points, and you get a penalty, and for each 12 after that, I believe it totals up to 36 incident points then, and then you're disqualified. So if you hit 12X, even if you hit it on the last lap, you will get penalized, and there is a good chance that you could lose this race.
These guys, it's happened before. It happened at Road Atlanta, and we saw Eric Dallariva come out on top because of that. So maybe they'll be a little bit more conscious of these penalties, and they're going to try their best to stay on the track. Don't hit that critical 13, 14X number, and keep your on-track result. Here's Kai Dial. He's fallen quite a bit. He was a lot closer than Dallariva, I'll say, earlier. But now he's 11 seconds behind Dallariva in the fight for the podium, if you can even call it a fight for the podium anymore. Right now, he's just kind of in no man's land in fourth.
Under 15 minutes to go. Gavin Sanders continues to lead the way. There's Kai Dial as he comes down into the hairpin. Dallariva 12 seconds back in third, with Almeida in the second spot. It's back under 2 seconds, though, so Almeida, the pace hasn't fallen off, and he's still reeling in Sanders, but it's about where they were before the green flag pit stops.
Yeah, Almeida 100% has the pace advantage, but it's one thing to catch a driver on track on pace, and it's another thing to pass them, especially at Suzuka. It's not the most difficult place in the world to pass, but it's also not the easiest place in the world to pass, and it's very easy to defend hard and maybe shove your opponent a little bit out wide and force them to recover and flail around for a little bit. So we'll see if Gavin Sanders gets the chrome horn out, gets the bumpers out, and forces Almeida to go a very difficult way around. So we go through turns 1 and 2. Just watching the gap with every milli corner. It just goes down and up and down and up and down and up. And in the end, they're just completely equal through turns 1 and 2. And Keaton Pipe's in trouble again.
Yep, Keaton Pipe around. How about the battle for 6th, though? This is second in Amateur B between Thomas Langheil and John Martin, 6th and 7th on the racetrack. They're 10 seconds back on the leader and Michael Puchik. On board, Martin.
And John's got to get by Langille here if he can. Oh, but he goes very deep into turn 1. Lucky not to spin the car. Langille makes a mistake too. So I guess they just kind of evened each other out through turns 1 and 2. Now through the S's. Who has the superior line here? Who's practiced this a little bit more and who's more comfortable through one of the most difficult and most rhythm-heavy sections of the track? They look pretty equal. Maybe Martin a little bit quicker, more willing to run over the inside curb. And going up over the hill now. Langille's run into a little bit of trouble on the exit grass earlier, but Martin all over the back of him now through the first Stegner. Oh, he's getting wiggly. That was a big slide.
Yeah, Langheil just seems out of control. He's thrown into the corners, praying it sticks on exit. He was doing it through the S's, and he did it right there as well. Let's see what happens into the hairpin. A big spot where Martin can pick up some time. Langheil up the racetrack a little bit. Martin closes into the back bumper, but can't do anything with it as they head now down the long straightaway.
Yeah, Martin's going to have to wait for another mistake from Langille. Fortunately for him, they've both been making a lot of mistakes, but he just has to make sure that it's Langille that makes the mistakes and not him. Through the spoon curve, Langille throws it over the curb, ollies it a little bit over that high curb, and skids on the skid plate. John Martin a little bit faster on the exit of the curve, though. As we go down the back straight to 130R, Martin not as close as he'd like to be here. Probably not going to be able to make a move into the chicane, and that's the blue Lamborghini.
Yeah, he had issues on the first lap, remember, and rebounded pretty nicely. Was going to wind up in about the 8th spot. He's 9th right now. I think with that spin, Val Pietro got by him. So just trying to limp that thing around in the 9th spot and bring home a decent finish. How about Almeida, though? It's down under a second and a half.
You can really see Gavin Sanders giving it everything he's got. You saw him run off track again there at the second Degner, and that is going to be a 1X guaranteed. So he's got to be careful. He might be racking those up more than Shueo at least. So even if he does beat Shueo on track, he could get demoted here. I haven't been counting how many X's he's gotten, but that was one at least, and well, I think I may have seen a couple more.
And we won't know for sure until they cross the line as we're closing in on 10 minutes left. We won't know the official X count until after the flag. So we could run into a situation like Road Atlanta where they cross the line and we think the person that won the race, and then 30 seconds later we go back and they're down in third place and they're no longer the winner. We're going to have to wait and see. This thing's not over yet, though. Almeida's got it down under a second with 10 minutes to go.
And this is where it gets critical. When you see that 0 next to the gap, to the car in front, you know the fight is on. And Gavin Sanders, if he wasn't worried already, he's definitely worried now. He's just got to be careful, though. Don't make any mistakes. Don't let Shueo pounce. The man's done so many laps on road courses in iRacing to make setups and race cars for every track and car there is. He's got so much experience, and Gavin's got a lot of experience himself, too, but he's got to hold off Shueo one way or another. Don't get distracted. I believe is that Fernandez in the orange Ferrari? I'm not sure, but whoever it is, it's absolutely parking the bus in front of Sanders here.
Yeah, this isn't going to help. I think that's well, I can't tell who that is. It gets up out of the way, though. And I think that's Randy Zimmer in the 14, actually, that was in the way there. But he's out of the way now. The gap's still under a second. It cost Sanders more than it cost Almeida, I think, but barely at this point. Under 9 minutes to go. Gap still under 0.8 of a second. I don't wonder if we're going to see Almeida send it in to that hairpin as time continues to click away. They're only going to have about 3 more laps to go.
Wasn't close enough into the hairpin that time. He's going to have to be a lot closer. Even though he is better on the brakes, he's going to have to be a lot closer than that to actually make a move to the inside. And he's not going to give him the bumper. It may look like Martinsville, but it isn't. And I don't think Gavin Sanders would be very happy if he did get the bumper, but through Spoon, another off track from Sanders. It's the gravel that time. That's going to hurt him speed-wise. Down the back straight, about equal with Almeida. But he does have a little bit of a draft. The GT3 car is not the most drafty of vehicles, but there is definitely a little bit, and it is helping Almeida down into the final chicane.
Down under half a second. On board with Almeida as they come through turn 17 and back onto the main straightaway. They're only going to have a couple of laps left. Inside 8 minutes to go. And depending on how these things cycle around, we could see the white flag with a lot of time left on the clock, all things considered. So this could be, you know, a 3-2-1 checkered flag as they're coming off the last corner.
Almeida's been very good through the S's. We saw Sanders take a big chunk out of the first curb. That lost him a little bit of time, a little bit of momentum. Almeida still bringing the gap down as they swerve through the first sector of the track, now going up the hill. Almeida a little bit more of a middle line than Sanders, who swept it out wide, and it looked like it paid off for him as he pulls away just a little bit. Now high commitment through the first Degner. Pretty equal, then heavy braking. 90-degree corner, second Degner, a little bit banked, which is interesting, but still nose to tail, pretty equal. And now this is where Almeida makes up his time. Under braking, you see him pop into your frame there, and he gained about 1/10 and a half just under braking.
Still under half a second, closing in on 6 minutes to go. As right now, it's all pretty much in the hands of Almeida and Sanders. Just an update on the battle we were watching earlier. John Martin did get by Thomas Langile for 6th. That was the closest battle on the racetrack at one time, but the closest battle right now is between the top two as they come down towards the chicane. 0.3 of a second. Almeida in the tire tracks trying to break the draft as they head to the chicane.
We'll see if Almeida decides to send it in this time. He doesn't have that much time to go. But is a last-ditch move really necessary with 6 minutes to go? He doesn't think so. He stays in the tire tracks of Almeida, and they are of Sanders, and they are going to drive down the front straight once again in line. Almeida not close enough to make a move, but he will be in the draft going down to turn 1. Can he force Sanders into a mistake? Maybe spook him by sending a dummy to the inside? No. They're both going to go completely normally, and they're going to save the battle for a little bit later.
Sanders drove it in deep. Almeida trying to back up the corner. It played out better for Sanders on exit. Almeida couldn't quite get the power down. They continue to come down through the S's. Almeida still trying to apply that pressure. Get Sanders to make a mistake, but the way Sanders has been driving today, it's all but been perfect with 5 minutes to go.
Up the hill, the two Porsches still glued together. With 5 minutes to go, there's not going to be that many more chances for Almeida to make this move. Gavin Sanders trying his best not to crack under pressure here. Through the Degners. Basically the same as they were last time around. Almeida's going to be frustrated here that he can't get much closer. But he might have to try some new things. Through the hairpin, he's close. But just not good enough of a drive on exit there as Sanders takes a bite out of the outside grass. He kicks up the dust, and I tell you what, Almeida's going to be close enough to make a move into Spoon here, I think.
Here we go. Looks to the inside. Sanders with the preferred line on the inside. Almeida might try and do a crossover, and he does. They stay side by side. Almeida sends it in down on the inside curb. Sanders trying to get the run on the high side. He gives him plenty of room. On board with Sanders, even though we can't see much. Now the back. Looking out the back of the car. Might be able to pull Almeida down the straightaway, headed to the chicane. Almeida closing in.
Gavin really overcooked it into the Spoon curve, and it looks like, oh, that's very far off track. And it looks like Almeida is going to get through here, or is he under braking? Sanders still has the inside. He is.
Almeida takes the lead. I think Sanders may have locked him up just a touch. We'll see what happens as they come around turn 17. I think this is 2 laps to go. We'll have to wait and see next time they come around. We may get the white flag when they come around next time by. Sanders with the draft. Pulls around to the outside. Let's see if he can do anything. Almeida chases him up there. Sanders sends it in on the top. And Sanders might be able to hang on, but no. Almeida gets wide. Bobbles it. Sanders takes it back off too.
Just the tiniest of wiggles from Almeida lost him that position on the exit of 2, and that allowed Sanders to sweep by. So now we're exactly the same place we were last time around. Almeida's got to make the move again, but good driving from both of those drivers, or I guess I could say bad driving from both of those drivers. They both made mistakes that lost them their positions, and that's why we were exactly the same place we were last time. So both of these drivers got to re-rack it all back up, get it back together, and hope that you're the one that doesn't make the mistake this time around and comes out on top.
I wouldn't call what Sanders did a mistake. He raced Almeida cleanly, didn't want to make any contact, had to give up the lead because of it, but he was able to pressure Almeida into a mistake the next time around. A great job by Gavin Sanders. He's back out in front by half a second with 2.5 minutes to go, which I think means we'll get 2 to go this time around instead of last time around as they come now for Spoon. Still half a second to gap.
Almeida looks like he might be a little bit too far back to go for the same kind of move he tried last time around, or the move that Sanders tried on him. About 0.45 of a second. That's a little bit too far back. He wants to be in that 0.2 range for the draft to really do anything. He's going to be too far back into the Casio triangle. Gavin Sanders all the way on the right side of the track. Under braking. Now Almeida gets closer. Almost got to the bumper of Sanders, but he's not close enough. We're going to cross the line here. Will it be the white flag or will it be 2 to go? It's a race against the clock.
2 to go at the line. 1:40 left. They'll get the white flag next time around. Almeida gets some help on the draft, but he was just a little too far back. Sanders was the one that was able to use that draft to his advantage a lap ago. So now Almeida, it appears that maybe he isn't as strong on the straightaways as Sanders. We'll have to wait and see. The gap's still 0.4 of a second. They'll get the white flag next time by.
Almeida's only got, you can count the amount of opportunities that Almeida has on one hand, or maybe 2 hands if he's lucky. There's the hairpin 2 more times, there's the Spoon curve 2 more times, and there's the chicane 2 more times. and maybe turn one 2 more times, or only 1 more time now. So we'll have to wait and see if he can take advantage of any of them through the Degners. Gavin Sanders pulling away a little bit, if anything, through the first half. He's turned up the wick a little bit.
Let's see if Almeida sends it here, tries to get as close as he can, maybe practice for next time by. On board at the back of Sanders, Almeida looking, takes the lower line. Sanders gets the power down to the exit. Almeida did close in just a little bit, but it's still Sanders by 3/10 as they head up the hill.
Almeida's got to nail the spoon curve here if he wants to beat Sanders. Sanders doesn't nail it.
Sanders wide. Sanders gets wide. Here comes Almeida on the inside. They almost make contact coming off the corner. Side by side for the lead. There's Gavin Sanders' mistake. Almeida trying to do everything he can. They're coming to the white flag this time by. Almeida still peeking down low. Sanders almost hits him as they come down the straightaway. Into the corner, Almeida sends it in deep, washes up a little bit. Sanders goes wide, gives him the room. Spinner in front. Sanders is clear in front. Coming to the white flag. This is it right here. They've got 1 lap to go. Gavin
One more
Sanders,
time around.
out of turn 17. Down the main straightaway. This should be the white flag lap. 1 to go.
Now, where can Almeida pounce here? He almost had it. He almost had it in the spoon curve. Gavin almost threw it away, but he was able to recover, but he got another off track, so I don't know what's going to happen with that. I don't know how many of those he's accumulated, but Almeida wants to make the move on track here through the S's. He's gaining time, but there is that lapped car. They can see it in their windshields. He's getting bigger, and they do not want to run into lap traffic here. Gavin Sanders especially doesn't. As we go up the hill, looking pretty even right now. Will Almeida give it everything he's got through the Degners? It looked a little bit tentative there.
Here we go, through the Degners. They're going to head to the hairpin next. Everything on the line. The slow car gets out of the way. Here comes Almeida. He's only got a few more shots left. Drives it in way too deep, but he's got a car length back on Sanders. Here they come off the corner. Almeida able to keep the power down. Maybe 2 car lengths now as they head down towards Spoon Curve. Sanders trying to do everything he can. I'm sure he's looking in the mirror more than he's looking out the windshield right now. To Spoon Curve they go. Almeida gonna send it in. Sanders also sends it in, trying to block any move that Almeida pulls on him. Almeida can't quite get there. They come up the hill, heading to 130R. This is the last lap of the race. Sanders looking to break the draft, weaving down the straightaway. Here we go. Headed toward the chicane. This is the last chance we're gonna get. Almeida, on board with Almeida, sends it in deep. Gets a little wide. Here we go, to the chicane. Sanders goes wide. Almeida low. Contact is made. Up the hill goes Almeida. Sanders back on the gas. Gavin Sanders going to come off turn 17, and he's going to hold on to win at Suzuka. A great show for... wow. A great show for Gavin Sanders. And for Sueyo Almeida, Eric Dallariva is going to come across the line in third, it looks like. Oh, my. Where was he going there? I think he just took a celebratory slam into the wall. Now, something to keep in mind, if you crash before everybody's taken the checkered flag, that counts as an incident point. So he could have a 4X onto his total. That could hurt Gavin Sanders here in the long run. We'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait for scoring once everybody else comes around. As, let's see, this is Dallariva here, coming down through the chicane. No, I'm sorry, that's John Martin, who's way back there. He's in 6th overall. Puchik should win the B class as long as nothing else got funky. So Martin comes across there. What a wild, wild race as everybody else coming across the line. And we are being told now by scoring, Eric Dallariva has won this race. Too many X's for the top 2. For Gavin Sanders, for Sueyo Almeida. Eric Dallariva is going to win it. Look at Laguna Seca. How about Suzuka? That's where we're at.
It's just bizarre scenes, and we kind of saw it coming, but I did not expect Gavin Sanders to accumulate that many points, and I don't know where Shuayo got all his points, but somehow they're both penalized, and Eric Dallariva just won this race.
Well, we talked about how Almeida could not set a lap in qualifying because he kept getting too many off tracks. That could have something to do with it. He just got too many off tracks here in this thing. It's a long race compared to qualifying. And for Sanders, I'm sure that pretty much like penguin slide off into the tires in turn one didn't help his cause either. And probably put him over the edge if he wasn't already there. So let's take a look at the overall results. Eric Dallariva is going to win Amateur A. Shuayo Almeida is still going to win the Pro class because he's the only one that's here for it. As Gavin Sanders does finish second and Almeida finishes third. Kai Dial finishes fourth. Michael Puchik wins the Amateur B class in the fifth spot. John Martin in sixth, Val DiPietro seventh, Thomas Langile eighth, Luke Ciccarone ninth, and Randy Zimmer one lap down rounds out the top 10.
Then Jeff Kingsley brought it home in his debut here, followed by Gary Wood in the Lamborghini. And then P13 was Austin Riley, ran into a little bit of trouble. Leo Mora in the Ford GT, the only one in the field, finished 14th. Keaton Pipe was 15th. And then the used car lot, Sam Heward, Federico Fernandez, Timothy Salvatore, Lawrence DeFranco, and Stephen Nagovin all ran into trouble. And that rounds out your 20-car field that actually started this race. And a wild race, a great battle for the win, and another confusing result at the end after the flag.
It happens. And of course, next week, where do we go? Le Mans, multi-class racing. It's an hour-long race. It's going to be a lot of fun. And certainly, if this thing was dramatic, next week is going to be dramatic tenfold. We'll just have to wait and see again. That is next week, August 10th. Same time as always, 8:15. We will be live from Le Mans, GTEs, GT3s. An hour-long race. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we'll be here with you for that call this time next week. Once again, this race is brought to you by Drive Festival from September 10th through the 12th at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, by Gary Woods Fat Ass Road Racing Team, by Neo Motorsports brake and suspension systems for your upgraded street ride or race car, by Ontario Time Attack, affordable motorsports at Ontario's finest racetracks, by FAF Automotive Partners, the Moradness lifestyle brand, motivated by motorsport, and by Racing with Autism. Learn more at racingwithautism.com. That's our broadcast here from Suzuka. You'll see us next week from Le Mans. In the meantime, for Joey Tabin and Zach Johnson, our producer, I'm Jacob Pitts. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week. Until then, good night.